To interview Mrs. Mary, Marcin Sirotak, Sirotak, Mrs. Peter, of 40 Whitman Street, Hastings-on-Hudson, New York, tomorrow, August 3, 1990, will be Mrs. Sirotak's 97th birthday. Now, let's start from the beginning. You said you came when you were 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, that would have been 1905.
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Tell me about your parents.
What about them?
Well, did they come from Europe?
Yes, they both did. I'm born in Yonkers.
Well, you were born in Yonkers.
We're all born in Yonkers.
How many were there in your family?
Me, Rudy, Julie, and Johnny. 4.
4.
Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to put that in the paper.
We'd let you see anything first for your approval.
I don't like publicity.
Okay.
I really don't.
All right, we want this for our archives because you're a part of living history. Where did you come and who was the oldest in the family?
I am.
You're the oldest. And then the next one?
My brother John, he's down in Florida.
Uh-huh.
Then comes Rudy, that lives here.
Oh, he lives here with you?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And then comes my sister that was here. She was born in Hastings.
Uh-huh. And where did your parents come from?
Oh, I don't know what part of Europe. Austria, that's all I can tell you, but I don't know what part. Nothing about them.
They were both Austrian?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Why did they come, do you know?
To live here, I guess. They never went back.
No. Oh, I wondered if they probably came because they wanted a better life.
I wouldn't know.
They never talked about their...
No, they forgot Europe.
They did.
They never went back.
Mm-hmm.
So evidently they didn't care.
Uh-huh. Well, what did your dad do?
Well, he used to work I don't know where he worked when he was in Yonkers. Couldn't tell you. But when he came to Hastings, we had the saloon. The tavern, now they call it.
Oh, now tell me again where that was.
It's not there. It's
Well, where it had been.
Right at the bottom of Dock Street, or whatever you call it.
Well, it's the south side now.
South side.
But then
It was
Dock
the
Street.
first house from the railroad.
So it was across from the railroad.
This side of the railroad. There was a house across the railroad. You just told me.
The International Hotel.
Yeah.
So you were across from that.
Yeah, on south side.
Uh-huh.
Ours was the corner house.
What was the name of it?
Just John Marcin, that's all.
And that was the name of the bar?
Just my father's name, Marcin.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
It's Marcin. Did you live upstairs?
Yes.
What was it, a two-story building?
Yes.
So you all went to the Hastings schools? And where was the school at that time?
The old one.
The one on where the firehouse is now?
No, this one. It's on the first house, the first building you come.
Oh, on Farragut.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
That's the old one.
Farragut and Brooklyn?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the the first building.
Yes.
The first school.
It's the first building.
Yes, all right. Did you graduate from high school there?
High school, yes, that's all.
Uh-huh.
No, not high school, grammar.
Oh, you didn't go on to high school?
No.
Just 8th grade?
Whatever the grade
Yeah.
was.
How about your brothers?
Oh, he's graduated. He's a graduate of Pratt Institute.
Oh, you see.
Oh, my oldest brother, no, he was chauffeuring for Will Rogers.
Oh, he was? How'd he get that job?
Well, he was in the Navy.
During World War
Yeah.
I?
As a matter of fact, his name is down on by the library there.
Is it?
It needs the gold is all off. You can't even hardly see his name there. It's on the bottom. John Morris.
I think a Boy Scout cleaned that up several years ago
Oh, yeah?
as a project. Uh-huh.
Well, my brother was something in Boy Scouts here.
He was a member?
Well, he was a Boy Scout, yes,
Uh-huh.
he was. Yes.
Well, what did you do when you finished school?
He went to Pratt Institute.
Now, what did you do when you finished school?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Stayed home. Take care of my mother, take care of the business and all that.
So you worked in the store, in the...
Tavern.
Tavern.
Saloon, whatever you call it.
Yeah. Did you serve meals?
No. Or did we? I don't remember. We had a... No, I did serve meals. Yes, I did. It got me now. We didn't.
Maybe it varied with the season.
I wouldn't know.
Your mother was the cook,
Yes.
so you worked there until you got married?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when was that?
When I got married?
Yeah, can you remember?
Oh, sure. 1914. That I remember.
And what did your husband do?
He's in the electrical business.
Oh, and he had the store on Main Street?
Mm-hmm.
Was it, somebody mentioned it was a radio shop?
That's right. Hastings Radio and Electric.
Hastings Radio and Electric. What was the number of Main Street?
Oh, I don't know. The shoe store's there now.
The shoe repair?
No, the man that sells shoes.
Oh, so it was on the corner of Main and Warburton?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Ansel's was around,
The corner.
yeah.
What was the name of it? Hastings Radio and Electric?
Mm-hmm. We were there a long time, but don't last me.
So then you started raising a family?
Mm-hmm.
So how many children did you have?
Just two, two.
Two. Who were they?
He's one.
Edward and Marian, Marian.
Okay, so you then gave up the tavern and instead helped your husband in the store?
No, my father sold the place.
Oh.
You then went to the grocery store.
I was Pete Nani after we got married.
Well, that's what she's asking.
No.
If she's connecting you with the radio store, but you had a grocery store in between, right?
Before the electric store, we had a grocery store.
Oh, where
We
was
weren't
that?
there too long. 417 Warburton Avenue, the house is still there.
But that would be near the bridge, wouldn't it?
No, past the bridge.
South?
Way past the bridge, where the Irish flats
Near
are.
Nodine
Way
Hill or
past-
Nodine Street, whatever.
Yes.
Past
Across the
that.
street,
Oh,
417.
417. Well, that was quite far south then.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's by the Irish flats, you know what?
Yes.
Well,
Mhm.
that's the building.
Oh, yeah.
And then comes a path, and then comes the Irish flats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a
Everybody
grocery-
knows the
There's a
Irish.
grocery store there now, isn't there?
Yeah, that's still
There is. It's kind of a Ukrainian
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
delicatessen.
Yes, yeah. They're not the original buyers of that store. I don't know who the people were that bought it.
Yeah, I've forgotten the name of the people who own it now.
I don't know their name.
I've been in there, but I don't know their name either. So you were there in the grocery business for a few years?
Yeah, I wouldn't know how long, no.
Now, how'd you happen to get into electricity?
My husband was fiddling around with radios. He made a radio, he built a television set.
He'd made television
Yeah.
back then? My goodness, he was ahead of his time.
He made a radio, and he made out of the oatmeal box. He put wires, and we went on top of the roof to get the air. And my father says, I think there's something wrong with Pete. He says he can get music from the air. So we went up on the roof and we put those earmuffs and we got music on the air.
My goodness.
He built a radio and he built a television.
So he was very clever.
Yes, he was. Yes.
Did he have any formal training? He just
No,
picked it up?
Picked it up. Here's a great book for reading.
Popular Mechanics?
Everything, anything. Anything was in print, he read.
Uh-huh.
No.
He used to write stories for
Oh, yes, he used to
for,
write
Hollywood.
stories. Yeah.
He wrote stories for them.
Movies.
Really? Were they ever produced?
They were, but they changed the names. They would tell him, they would pay him for it, and they would tell him we're changing the name to their own way of liking.
Oh.
They didn't like the name of the picture, so they would let him know that taking the story, but not the name.
Can you remember what some of them are?
No.
Can you remember any of them?
I wasn't interested in it.
They would have been silence then.
Oh, yes. I wouldn't know that either. I couldn't tell you.
Was he a Hastings boy?
No, Yonkers.
Yonkers? Well, where did you live when you, after you were married?
I lived in Yonkers, on Yonkers Avenue, and we stayed there too long because my mother was ailing, so
Oh.
I came back.
To take care of her?
Yes, and in the meantime, she died, and then I stayed until we built this house.
Oh, when was that?
When we built this house, either 1928 or 1920, I don't remember. But we're here since 1928 or 29 in this house.
40 Whitman Street.
Yeah.
Was this area built up then?
Oh, no. Mr. Whitman, W-I-T-T, is the man that bought all this property.
Uh-huh.
And it was W-I-T-T until somebody in the village changed it to W-H.
Yeah.
And that's how we're having problems once in a while. There's a Whitman Street in Yonkers, 40 Whitman.
Oh, so you get their mail.
They get ours, we get theirs. Even with the 10706 on. We occasionally, not too much, but we do, yeah.
Well, wasn't there at some point a change of names that this Whitman Street didn't go all the way through?
Well, that was a dead-end street here.
Yeah.
That's all I know, and I don't know whether the village bought it. I don't know nothing about that.
You don't remember when it went through?
I don't know nothing about that. No. I know it was just it wasn't way down. But when it was changed, I don't know nothing about that.
So it came off Villard?
It came off a lot, yes. Mm-hmm. As far as the vets here.
Oh, yes.
That's all. I don't know.
Did you ever know Mr. Brandt who lived over there?
No.
Maybe he was earlier.
That was before
I see.
Before, I think maybe Mr. Witt might have bought it from them.
Possible.
I wouldn't know.
But there were just a few houses on the block?
No, there was none. Only Madden's house, and no, there was nothing here. No, just woods.
It was woods.
Whatever.
Well, whose house was first on the street? Do you know that?
Burke's?
Who was first on
Who
the
was
street?
first?
Yeah, she wants to know how many houses were
I
already
wouldn't know.
on the street when you came. You built that house first?
Oh, there were a lot of houses here before.
Oh, well, that's what she's asking you. And
Oh,
you
no, they
said,
were
no,
all
there were no
here.
houses, but there were houses here.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, we moved here, what did I say?
28 or 29.
Yeah, well, we bought the house lots before that, but I don't know when. But no, these houses were here before we came.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Because they built this house.
Oh, the one next door?
Before they put this one up.
We built that,
Is that the one next door?
yeah,
What's the number on that?
I don't know.
38?
I wouldn't know. Couldn't tell you. But anyway, after we built it, when the foundation was there, it looked big enough for us. Well, after the walls were up and they broke the building, the rooms, I says to my husband, I said, you know how those rooms are very small. I said, we can't move in there. So that's how we sold it, for that one reason.
Oh, I see.
It looked big, the foundation looked big, but after the inside was cut up like this, because I had my father and I had brother, my sister, my husband, and my 2 children.
It was a big family.
Yeah.
You took care of all of them?
Until,
Yes, she raised her family
I
because her
raised
mother did die very early.
She died when
Then
she
her
was
dad
either
also
40 or
died.
41.
So she had young brothers,
This
sister?
one- Yeah, brother and sister. Well, the other brother was in the Navy, so he didn't stay with me.
Uh-huh.
After he got out of the Navy, he settled, he liked California. So when he went to California, then he got in with the theater group. How, I don't know. So he worked for Eddie Canton, he worked for Will Rogers, but he stayed with Will Rogers the whole time.
Well, he
As a
must have had
matter-
an interesting life.
What?
He must have had an interesting life.
Oh, he did, yes. As a matter of fact, we even went to Will Rogers' home in Florida. My sister and I think. I don't remember who was there, but I know I went to Will Rogers' home. Anyway. Oh, when he was in Long Island someplace, we went to his home. And my sister, I don't remember, my brother, he had horses there. He told me to sit down when I was very fat in my younger days. And I'm shrinking now. No, he stayed with Will Rogers a long time.
Well, did your younger brothers and sisters go through high school here?
Yes, graduated high school. Yes.
And then what did they do?
Well, she went to work. Rudy went to Pratt Institute. And the rest was on their own.
What did Rudy specialize in
I
at
wouldn't
Pratt?
know. I couldn't tell you.
It had to be engineering, because that's the engineering field, isn't it? Isn't Pratt and
Well, it's also business.
Oh, is it?
Yes, at least now, it's business administration is a strong point
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Oh, I don't know anybody in church. See, I was too young and I couldn't be bothered with all those things. I mean, I was a busy lady.
Yeah, well, I can imagine. Did you do all the cooking and
Oh, sure, I never had help.
all the housework?
Once in a while I might get help here to wipe the floors or something, but not too often. I did most of it.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever my husband had to do something in the store, to work on something, I would be home cleaning. When he got through, he would call up, I can come down, and he would go out. We worked hard,
I bet you did.
very hard.
But you must have earned a good living if you could have bought this house.
Well, knowing how to save money is the most important.
How was it during the Depression?
It was bad. Yes, it was bad. People weren't paying us. We weren't paying. But we had a good credit. That's what held us.
And then when did things start looking up again?
I wouldn't know.
With World War II?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
How long did you have the store?
Oh, that I don't know either. I couldn't tell you. We had a long time, but
Until your husband died?
before that, when he didn't feel good,
You gave it up?
Well,
He
he
gave it.
kept it. How old was he when he,
oh, I wouldn't know.
he worked way past retirement time, 70.
I wouldn't know. All I know, he gave it up.
I remember that.
That I don't know.
He sold it to somebody else?
No, I think he gave it up. He didn't sell it. He just
He just decided he was
just
giving it up.
closed the store, and that was it. Whatever he had, he sold.
Yeah.
What he didn't have, he brought home. Half of it we gave away to whoever wanted it.
See,
You
the
know.
the building itself wasn't his. He rented the building.
Yes, that's what I gathered.
Yeah. And then now the shoe store that's on the corner,
It was a,
took that segment, their store as well as the store that was on the corner.
Uh-huh.
well, this man that's got the store, there was a little grocery, the delicatessen store on the corner, then our store.
That's what I said,
That
but the shoe
shoe
store took the two
repair.
stores. The shoe store, though, took both of those stores.
The man now, he tore the wall
Yes.
Yeah.
and made the store
Made
big.
one store out of it,
Yeah.
yes.
And the shoe repair's still there.
That's on the other side of your store.
Yeah.
Do you know when that was that they gave up the business?
I don't know husband might know.
I wouldn't know.
And your children went to Hastings High School?
Yes.
And
Now,
then-
my daughter is a graduate of Barnard College.
Is she?
And he's a graduate of Pratt Institute.
He also went to Pratt.
No, my brother.
Oh, your brother went to Pratt,
Yeah.
Rudy.
And my brother, the one that was in the Navy, he went to California.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, how about your own children?
Well, he's a graduate, I told you, he's a graduate of Pratt, my son.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter's graduate of Barnard.
And what do they do now?
My daughter died,
Oh,
and my son is here,
uh-huh.
and he's retired. And he had his, well, you can ask him the rest. I mean, I know he worked with somebody, but I don't know for who. I mean, can't be bothered.
Did your daughter have a career?
She wanted to be a doctor, very
Oh.
bad, and she took whatever,
Medical.
yeah. But she wasn't strong enough. At that time, she had a heart condition.
Oh,
And when Dr. James, I don't know how long you're in Hastings, you,
About 1978.
the store closed.
Yes.
and he died in 81. Pete,
That's about right.
I know he didn't feel like working anymore.
Well, if he'd lived past retirement.
Yeah, well, the shock, I think, was a little much for him because he never was a person who rested or was taking advantage of leisure time. He fought vacations even. He just
Really?
was busy all the time. Is that right? He didn't really like to have vacations even. He just enjoyed working down at the store
Yes.
and meeting those people that he enjoyed seeing. They'd come in the store and sit and talk to him when he should have been working.
Oh, there was a hangout for everybody.
Yeah, it was.
Puss Trout, did you know the policeman, Puss Trout?
I've heard of him.
Yeah, well, his wife and I were very close friends.
Oh,
And different ones that, like Mrs. Cobb said, she'd stop in and talk.
Mhm.
Well, there was a hangout for all women. If
Oh.
Mary was there, the women would stop and talk. If my husband was there, any policeman or anybody would stop in. The trust, anybody. Steinstein's a great friend of ours. As a matter of fact, yeah, I have cactuses that the Steinstein is.
oh, really?
Yeah, well, my husband did work for Steinsteiner, and he admired flowers, and anytime this cactus plant would bloom, people would look at it. So when he wasn't feeling good, this particular day, Steinsteiner, he says to Mrs., he says, if anything happens to me, he says, I'd like Pete Sirotak to have this cactus. Since then, we have it, and we gave it to Pulvers to break it up, which they did. And one of the Pulver boys told my husband, he says, you know, Pete, we made a lot of plants out of your cactus plants. They took it and they replanted it, and they made new ones.
Oh,
But they're not doing good now. They're out in the backyard. My brother's taking care of them. And just because it was given to us, I think it's wonderful.
well, I think that's a very nice story.
Yeah. But don't put that in.
We had a piece on the Pulvers last year. Did you remember
Yeah,
reading
I
it?
still have it.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
I did that piece, interviewed a
We were
number of
very
them.
friendly with they used to have a businessmen's association here, and my husband belonged to it, of course. So we became very friendly with the Pulvers,
Uh-huh.
with all of them. There were people more friendlier than they are now, I think. There's too many new people in town.
Well, that Businessmen Association used to send kids away to camp.
Yes.
Boys to camp. I don't know about girls.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I can't be bothered to listen. To me, it means nothing, but to you people it means something.
Yes, well, it
It helps
helps.
to everybody in the town, too.
Well, the newcomers, they don't care about what's happening.
Oh, I think they do.
Now, how long you in Hastings?
12 years.
Oh, you're a baby.
I know. but I know more about the
Where did you
history
come
than,
from?
well, I grew up in New England.
Oh,
But then when I graduated from college, I moved to New York City. And then I've
New
lived,
England, that's Connecticut, isn't it?
well, it was Massachusetts where I lived.
Oh,
And then I lived in Cornwall, New York, Cornwall-on-Hudson,
yeah.
Croton-on-Hudson,
Oh,
and
you
now
lived
I'm
in Croton?
Hastings-in-Hudson. So I've been I've always been very interested in history, so I've learned a lot about the Hudson River Valley.
No, Marion was a pretty bad student. She died about 2 years ago now.
It'll be 2 in November.
Yeah, she died.
Did she ever get to work in medicine?
No,
No.
the Barnard College wrote us a letter and told us that she's a very good student, but she couldn't go through the schooling with Barnard. It's very hard, and her body can't take it
What a shame.
because of her heart. She had a very weak heart.
Was she able to work at all?
She worked for J.C. Penney in the, what do you call it?
It was in the labs. She did the testing on materials and things like that.
Yeah, she used to put
She's a lab technician.
bugs and things in blankets and things like that.
Oh, yeah. So she used some of her science
Oh,
training?
yes, oh, yes. That's what she continued doing then, was to get her degree so that she could
She didn't work too long
do
because she
something
got
in that area,
married.
in that.
Oh,
She got married and then she didn't work too.
Well, then she, yeah, the mother, after that, after she got married, they moved to New Jersey, and she went back and got a teaching degree.
Oh, yeah, she got
teaching
another
school.
degree for Barnard. Yeah, you're
Yeah, she
right.
was teaching school.
I forgot that.
Yes,
she probably went to teacher's college.
yes. Well, I can't answer that because I don't remember.
Well, that's
what
part of
which degree
Columbia.
it
It's
is,
up
but
on 125th Street near Barnard.
Well, I know she worked on her teacher's degree because that's, and then she retired after she became ill.
So she did teach.
Oh, yes, quite a few years.
In
In fact, she raised a daughter there, so Pat was almost, well, she was grown up when Marion stopped teaching.
What did she teach? Do you remember?
Yes, she taught language, English, and
I don't know
the
what.
problem, the students who had reading problems.
Or remedial reading?
Remedial reading, that's the word I want.
Mhm.
Because there they had quite a few ethnic people in the schools where they were, and she had to work with those people a great deal in order to get them to convert from their language to the English language, even though they might have a small background of English. Her job was to develop
Mhm.
that as well.
Yeah, well, I'm familiar with those programs.
Where did Pat go to college?
Syracuse University.
Oh, that's her daughter.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what I gathered. Your granddaughter.
Yes, my granddaughter. And today she's a lawyer.
Oh, well, good. Good for her. Well, can you tell me something about what it was like growing up in Hastings when you were a young girl, teenager?
Well, I don't know what to tell you about that.
Well,
There wasn't much for going out.
you didn't have much of a social life?
Not too much, no.
There wasn't time for a social life.
What?
There wasn't time for a social
No.
life for you, was there, Mother?
No, I worked hard.
But she was a godparent for how many children? 20?
Oh, I don't know, 34 or 40, I really don't know. I was Sloankeeper's daughter.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, but anybody had a wedding, I was a bridesmaid. Anybody had a baby, I was a godmother.
Well, you must have been very popular.
There's many
Yes, I
people
was.
in town. Yeah, many people.
I
in
didn't
town.
realize I was that popular. It just came to me.
Well, you must have been very warm-hearted.
That's for sure.
Well, I don't
That's for
know.
sure.
But I have a lot of godchildren, a lot of them are dead. And a lot of them are, well, I don't know if they're living, I
A lot of
don't
them
know.
moved, yeah, a lot of them moved out of town, but there's still some.
All my girlfriends with the husbands that we used to play cards or go to theaters or anything, they're all gone. I'm the only one left. Puss Condon's gone, Florence is gone. They're all gone.
Where did you go to the theaters?
Oh, any theater that, to New York.
To New York?
Oh, yes. And then we used to, with one group, we used to play bridge. With another group, we used to play pinochle.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to, our entertainment was in your house this Saturday, in our house this Saturday.
Didn't they used to give entertainments down at Devine's?
Where?
Devine's or Divines?
Divines.
Yes, up here.
Down here?
Yes, upstairs.
Yeah.
Where the firehouse is now.
Yes. Mhm.
Upstairs, yes.
Did you participate in any of those?
Not too much, no. My mother would let me go. She used to watch over me.
Very strict?
I was too popular, and
Oh.
I could have gone all over, but she wouldn't let me.
Wouldn't she even let you go with your girlfriends?
Oh, with the girlfriends, yeah, but the girlfriends had boyfriends, so I couldn't go with them. No.
But you must have had a boyfriend or two yourself.
I don't know. Who, me?
Yeah.
No.
No?
I met my husband on an excursion. Some church in Yonkers had years back they used to have different churches to raise money.
Yes.
They used to have, what I just say,
Excursions?
yeah,
Up to Bear Mountain?
yeah, and back. And
Uh-huh.
that was, yeah. So I went with a group of girls, and I had a friend that his father was in the wholesale liquor business. We used to buy liquor from his father. And he says to me, he was on the boat with his boyfriends and I was with girlfriends. We were both surprised to see each other. So he says, he was surprised, he says, gee, I want you to meet a fella. He says, I'm a good kid, I want you to meet him. So who was it but my husband?
Oh.
And he was studying to be a doctor.
Oh.
But the people had no money to put him through college. So he didn't go to college.
So he became a very talented electrician.
Yes. I told you he would read and read and read.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, whatever was in print, he would read. So that's my story. I
Yeah.
think you got a lot out of me.
Are you getting tired?
No, I could talk all day long. A lot of garbage, but I could talk.
How about your church?
My what?
Did you belong to a church?
St. Matthew's.
St. Matthew's. Didn't they have quite an active social
Oh,
life?
yes, they did. Yes, they did. But I didn't belong to none of them.
You didn't?
No.
Did your husband?
No.
No.
Went to church and back.
And that was it.
That was it, yeah. Those things never bothered me.
Did the kids, your kids, go to Sunday school?
Gee, I don't remember what they did now.
Of course you did, because they made their Holy Communion and all of that. In fact, didn't Ed have nuns? That was for catechism.
I don't remember.
They had catechism classes. Your kids had to go to catechism classes. Mother, you have to remember
Could
that.
be, yeah.
Because they made their Holy Communion.
Did they go to the St. Matthew's school? Or the public school?
Public school.
The public school. So your life was pretty much bound up with work and family?
That's all.
That's,
Of course, we had
that's a lot.
our own friends, as I told you, with playing cards. That was our entertainment.
Mm-hmm. Did you do any traveling?
Not too much, no. We did, but not too much.
You have a car?
Yes. Well, no, my father had a car. Later on in life, we also had a car.
Mm-hmm.
Because my father didn't know how to drive. My husband did the driving.
But she's very active in the senior center, the Busy Bees.
What?
I said you're very active in the Busy Bees. And
Well-
she has gotten the award for being the oldest one in that group. How many years in a row now?
I don't know how old I am. You telling me.
You told me she's going to be 97 tomorrow.
I
But each year
You
they
know, I was
had
telling everybody I'm gonna be 57.
no, 79.
79.
Yeah. The Busy Bees have an annual banquet.
Last year.
Yeah. And a couple of years though, when they gave an award for the oldest person there.
Yeah.
And it was always you.
Yeah,
So we're assuming she's the oldest one in Brooklyn, in
the Busy Bees.
Hastings.
Well, I think you might be the oldest person in Hastings.
I think so, I really do.
I have an idea I'm very close to the oldest because I know different people that were our customers
Uh-huh.
are all gone. And I know there was a woman very old that either her grandfather or her father built the first cable something, and I forgot her name.
There was a Mrs. Connell, I believe.
No,
Does that name ring a bell? Or Connell? Cornell?
no.
Connell, I remember seeing something about her in our files. And
About
she,
the
and she was in her 90s.
her grandfather or her uncle or somebody built the first cable that went across the ocean or someplace.
Oh, the underwater cable to Europe, transatlantic cable. Is that the one you're talking about?
What's her name? I think we'll
Cyrus Field.
Cyrus, an
Field.
initial. She's got initials someplace. SF Fields.
Could be. I've forgotten. There was a middle initial.
I think it's F.
Could be.
Either F or T. I think.
I
it's-
can't recall, but it was Field.
Yes. Well, I used to know her.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
That was a long time.
I think they lived in Ardsley.
Oh, I thought there was.
At least the
Manor.
father lived in Ardsley, I think. Might have been Dobbs
There was
Ferry.
Ferry Manor.
I think he moved around, actually.
Oh. Well, I used to know her. There was a couple of others. Only through our store. Otherwise, I wouldn't know them.
Uh-huh.
That's the way I would know them. They would do business with us. They'd come and pay the bill, or if they were in the village, they'd stop in. As I said, it was a hangout for everybody. Anybody who was down in the village, lived up in the manor someplace, like Mrs. Cock.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime she told you that, I guess she did, told you that she just stop and spend a few minutes, say hello. They all did. But we used to, the different women that belonged to the women's club, and they lived around nearby, or they would just store shopping in Hastings. And they see me looking out the window, they'd come in and say hello.
Uh-huh. Were you a member of the women's club?
No.
Or the...
I was asked a couple of times.
Uh-huh. How about the mothers' club?
No, I don't belong to any of them. No. I go to their card parties or whatever, but I don't go.
Mm-hmm.
I had no time. Either be a member or don't be one. That's the way I look at it. Either you're active, you're not.
Yeah, well, I agree with you.
No.
I give a lot of time to the Historical Society.
No.
Well, so what have you been doing in your retirement?
Nothing. Nothing.
Well, you still run your home,
Well, that's about all.
yeah, and you belong to the Busy Bees?
Yes. And the canteen. I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
I'm quite friendly with Ethel McQuaid, if you know Ethel.
Yes, I do. I don't know her well. I know her sister better. I know Alice
Oh,
better.
Alice. Well, I knew her other sister better, the one that passed away.
I didn't know her.
Yeah, I knew her.
This is the son.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm the volunteer worker.
What do you volunteer?
Whatever she has to fix.
He got all of his
I'm
father,
rebuilding a window right now.
Oh, is that what
he
you do?
got all of his father's
He's a-
talents, right?
No, I just have my father's stick-to-itiveness and inquisitiveness.
You're Rudy?
No,
No, he's
Ed.
Oh, you're Ed.
He's my son. Rudy's my brother.
Ah, okay.
And he's the one that's from Pratt Institute. He's the graduate. Oh, so was Rudy, that's right. Two of them.
Rudy went, but he didn't graduate. I went and graduated.
Oh, he didn't graduate?
That's
I
what I was
didn't know.
told. I don't know. He wasn't there
I
when I
don't
was there.
remember. I
That's
can't
for
be
sure.
bothered.
What did you major in?
Electrical engineering.
Uh-huh. So the talent runs in the family.
No, I used very little electrical when I graduated, after I graduated. I was in a mechanical, hydraulic, and that type.
Oh,
That's why I don't understand why some people get upset when the kids don't know what they want to do in college. When you get out, you don't do what you think you're going to do anyway.
well, I guess
Whatever the
that's,
opportunity presents itself, that's what you take advantage of.
well, I knew from third grade what I wanted to do.
Well, you were lucky.
Yeah, I know, it's
In fact, I have
unusual.
a favorite story I tell. I won't take too much of your time. At the engineering center in Cleveland, and the speaker was talking about careers, and there were about 500 in the audience. And he asked for a show of hands to those that are doing what they thought they'd do in the industry they thought they'd be in when they were in college. There was a smattering of hands went up. And then he asked for a show of hands of those that were doing exactly what they thought they would do when they were in college. One guy puts his hand up, and some wise guy in the back says, well, his father owns a business. And sure enough, that's when they questioned him, he said, yeah, his father owned the business, so he took over his dad's business. But out of 500, there weren't that many that really knew what they were going to do. They knew in a general sense, like engineering or business or literature or what have you.
Mhm. Well, that's true with my contemporaries. I realize I'm an exception.
Well, you are.
Yeah.
Well, did you get it started yet?
Oh, she's told me quite a bit.
I tied a lot of garbage, yes.
That's, I told you, Mother, that's for them to sift out the garbage, and if you don't remember right, they'll compare it with what somebody else said, and they can look it up from there.
Well,
There's a lot of things I don't remember. I don't
Oh,
remember.
come on, don't give us that. I mean, you say that often, but she remembers everything.
I want you to look at these pictures too, Ed, see if you...
what about the changes that have been going on in the village over the years?
What do you mean by the change?
Well, the changes in ownership of stores, the changes of the
I never
stores.
think of them.
No, you don't,
Can't be
This is
bothered.
where your house was.
Then it's very few changes outside of Ufers.
They wanted to...
Yeah.
I know of, and we were very close with Ufers.
yes, you must have been right pretty close together there.
Next door, only the shoe store was
Yeah.
empty, and the paint store that Ufers used to have years back.
Mm-hmm.
But we were very friendly. We used to go on Sunday trips for a ride.
Uh-huh.
George would do the driving.
Mhm.
Census, no?
Pete would drive during the week with his
Thought so.
business. And
First day,
on a Sunday, on a weekday, George would be in the store. To him, driving with Doretta, Mrs. Ufer, she would do the
Mrs.
driving.
Fritz's on Maple Avenue.
Because that's the only time they would drive, is weeknights. And that's when,
Mother,
What?
that's Fritz's home on Maple Avenue.
He said he thinks this is the Ritz House on Maple Avenue.
I don't think so.
It sure looks like it. Now that he mentions it, it looks exactly like it.
How'd they spell her name?
H-R-I-T-Z.
Well, you know who else, they had, there's about 2-3 houses like that.
Well, I know
No, that
that,
was the only house that had the porch and the steps coming down.
Oh, the Cooks had it too.
They were.
with the center,
You go
center
down there
step.
now and you'll see it, that house is exactly like it is now.
On Maple Avenue?
Maple
They
Avenue.
painted, it's on the right side, about halfway.
You know, there's a little church there, looks like, there's a little brick house,
Yes.
looks like a church.
Yeah.
Next door.
Oh,
The Ushers own it now. It used to be the
In fact, there's
Ritz's.
people on there. I wonder if there's any way to identify them.
yeah, that's one way we sometimes figure out.
Well, this was.
You don't have a
this house
magnifying
was-
glass, do you?
No.
This house down here under the bridge belonged to the druggist's son, Harry.
Algeo,
No, before him.
Todd.
Todd, Harry Todd. That was his house down there.
Yeah.
In fact, that's where Nick Connick had the pigeons.
Well, the story that she has connected with this, that possibly, that might be even before they...
Yeah. Did you ever hear that had been the railroad station or a freight depot?
Yeah. Before Harry Todd took the kid boy.
Oh,
I think
really?
his name was Harry, too.
It was.
Hmm.
Hanford.
Huh?
Hanford.
Well, I called him Harry.
Oh.
Yeah, you're right, you're probably right.
Oh, his name is Hanford.
And this is, that's the rectory right next to St. Matthew's, isn't it? Looks like.
That's what I told your mother. And
It
she
looks
said
like
no.
the old one.
She said no, that it,
This one's beyond me.
that they had different steps than that.
But they change steps, Mother, from time to time. Every, a lot
Well,
of
that's a
houses.
clue to start with. This
Whose
is the
house
one,
did
this
they
is the one
change?
that he thinks might have been the original rectory for
Oh, really?
St. Matthew's.
God, you know, I never thought I'd be a historian. Gee, I thought I was too young for that.
Well, you are young compared to all these pictures.
And no one has suggested that this is the Zinser house, huh?
No,
That was my
no.
first-
We have pictures of the
Oh,
Zinser House. Locust Wood, it was called.
That was my first reaction.
Just don't put my name in nothing in
Oh.
the stove. I don't want it.
My mother is so afraid of somebody getting her name and coming and robbing the house.
Oh, come
She
on.
You told me that, Mother.
Oh,
She
come on.
tears the address off the envelopes before she throws it away.
Well, there's
What
so
you
much
said-
robbery.
Did you just tell me that
Yeah,
yesterday?
yes, I
I thought, I don't know where you ever got those ideas. I guess when you get past 40, you start
That's
thinking
for sure,
weird
yes.
things.
And we have a lady past 40, be careful.
Oh, I'm past 40.
You got two ladies, me past 40.
I'm past 40 by some. Do you go out much anymore?
No. Well, I can't, no.
After she broke her hip a year, it'll be 2 years and a year and a half ago, exactly. She has not walked steps or anything, so it's very, very
Oh.
difficult for her to get around. And
She can't even
She's
get
getting
to-
therapy now to learn to walk the steps, and once she does that, I think she'll get her confidence back.
Well, she just went with us to the cemetery, visit my dad's.
Yeah, oh, I was holding out to you and...
Well, you went. That's.
Oh, yes, I went. That's what we...
And you can go to the Busy Bees?
Not yet?
Well,
Oh.
the if you remember, the building there, going downstairs,
Yes.
they're very irregular there.
Yeah.
And Ida, you know Ida, don't you?
No.
From the Busy Bees? You don't know her?
No.
No, but I'm afraid those steps.
Well, they're very bad in the winter.
Oh, yes.
I don't like them myself.
Because they're not very wide either, so that if she...
A lot of people have complained about those
Well, we
steps.
had a meeting with the canteen people, with Ethel McQuaid's group that she belongs to,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know whether the Busy Bees or the canteen, they favored being downstairs. So they went out.
Seems more sensible that you would be upstairs.
Yes, indeed.
Well, they tried it one year.
You know what it takes? One tumble. Somebody's gonna go down there, and then it's gonna be a big, big riot.
Do you know when
I
you...
don't know enough about it, but is upstairs as big as
It's
downstairs?
huge.
Yes, I
They
think
have
they're probably
pool
bigger.
tables there. As you walk into upstairs, on the left-hand side, if you remember, there's like a room that you could sit there and was there.
Right.
Well, the Busy Bees went there one Monday, set the tables and all, for playing bingo, and they couldn't hear.
Oh.
So they made the report, what do you call it, caustic?
Acoustics?
Yeah, it wasn't loud enough or something.
The acoustics is that the amplifier kept bouncing off the walls. And
Yeah, well,
distorted
whatever
the-
was wrong, yes, it was no good. But they didn't want to take the pool tables away to give the women the room. It was too big, and, well, anyway, they didn't want to take the pool tables away. So they all favored downstairs. That's all I can tell you.
Huh.
It was done the democratic way, so you can't complain. Just, if you can't climb
I
the
don't
steps,
know.
you don't go.
I wouldn't know
Well, I should have an elevator in there.
what that would cost
You
me.
know, that wouldn't cost, no, hydraulic elevator wouldn't, hydraulic lift elevator wouldn't cost much at all.
Then somebody complained about not having enough out in case of fire or something. So they put a door on that side and a door on this side, and the entrance is you walk in. So there is doors there now to go. But
What do you do? We have to go through the door, have to jump down and run?
No, then you have to climb stairs.
And one's going to be pushing the other one.
I don't
and
think
there's-
that's very
no, it's-
smart if you have to
it's very
climb
bad.
steps.
No, it's very bad.
Anyway, that's not our problem. My only problem is now I got rest and I can go out and finish.
And years ago, I don't know what we were doing downstairs, whether it was the art show or what. I think we had a painting class down there with Mrs. Gray. Grace Gray, did you know her? She had an art, those are my pictures that I painted.
No,
But down there, but I
Mhm.
can't do it myself. I have to have someone to,
Watching.
I mean, I have to copy it. I can't do a picture out of my own mind.
oh, I see.
These are copies. yeah.
Uh-huh.
These and about, what, 10 others that
I
we
gave them all
have, your
away.
grandchildren have?
Yeah, I gave them over. But anyway, we used to paint down there, and there was a woman from Dobbs Ferry. She was a nurse in Dobbs Ferry Hospital. I don't know whether she's living or not now. And we all heard somebody yelling and screaming down where the village have their trucks.
You mean oh, yes, the DPW.
Yes. They were screaming and yelling, and there was a fellow there on fire, clothes and all. And this woman from Dobbs Ferry, if you can visualize the window in that downstairs.
Yes, that's right, you
She
can look
jumped
down
out
and
and she jumped out of that window and ran all the ways down there to save that fella. But he
Oh.
was too far gone. He died burned.
Really, how did he catch on fire?
I don't know. Well, we were up. I wouldn't know.
There must have been a story in the paper about it.
Oh, there was a story, of course. It was a big story. Burnt to death.
When was that, Mother?
Oh, years back when I used to paint down.
All right, when was that?
Oh, how can I tell you?
Years back is not finite enough.
I couldn't tell.
20 years ago?
When I was painting these, oh, I was not even, I might have been in my 40s, 40.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, because you used
Oh,
to sit in
no.
the store. You used to
Oh,
work in the
no.
store with Dad, and then you
I
joined that.
don't know.
You didn't
the art
join that
class.
painting group until you were
Well, and
well in the 60s.
Her name was
Well,
Grace
in the
Gray, that's
60s.
all I can tell you, the
Well, in the
painting teacher,
60s.
Grace Gray. And I hear she's not living anymore. But I
No,
couldn't
that-
tell.
she didn't know she had any talent, but some of her friends started taking the art classes at the center there. And one day they stopped and they talked her into going to have coffee with them over the seniors at the art class. And so she went, and that's when Mrs. Gray said to her, Mary, here's sit down here and I'll show you how to start painting. And then she went regularly.
Good, well, I think you did very well.
She has some beautiful, beautiful things.
You know, all that is incidental if you don't want her to use your name, 'cause that doesn't mean anything. She wants to know about the city and the
Well, I've never heard
business.
about the art class before, I'm glad to.
That was a pretty good sized class. And that woman that taught her, Gray was her name,
Grace Gray, she said.
she was very talented.
I never heard about this man catching on fire.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Do you have any idea when that happened?
It had to be, my offhand guess would be 20 plus, in around there, 20 years.
I wouldn't know. And I wouldn't even know who you could ask at the time.
Well, I could look up in old newspapers.
Oh,
That's why I wanted to.
I don't even know the boy's name, a man or a boy, whatever he was. I wouldn't even know.
Well, if she had a year, she can go through the issues.
I can go through the newspapers.
Oh, how old are your newspapers?
Oh,
They're there.
They go back
usually
to-
keep- yeah.
What Henry,
in Dobbs Ferry, they go back more than 100 years.
Oh,
I bet
they-
they have
They have it on
the
microfilm.
Hastings, what was the one I used to?
News.
And the
Hastings News.
Press,
Yeah,
the one that Henry had. over
Yes.
at the-
Hastings
I used to
News.
sell them for, make a penny a paper. Well, I'll never forget in fact, we have a kind of local paper in our area, the Brooklyn Sun News. And I used a comment that I got from a customer when I was selling papers. He could throw it up in the air and read it on the way down. And that's what our paper is like. Well, that paper was like 4 pages, and I think we used to get a nickel for it, and then we got a penny. And then it went up to 6 cents or 7 cents. It went up, and even I was thinking, why would the people buy this? There's nothing in it. There wasn't much news.
No, we've got some old issues of that, but a local story like this would certainly make it front page.
Yes.
Well, I don't know, do the libraries microfilm all those things anymore, or now?
Yeah, oh yes. For the last 5 years, the Historical Society's been, gets a microfilm.
I'm talking about going back that far.
Well, the library has them pretty far back. I'm not sure how far back. But
It was nice looking at the film. Did you give her the film?
the video?
Videotape?
No, I think did you get one from Barbara?
Yes.
She borrowed it. It was, seeing Mrs. Stetson was a real trigger for reminiscing. She was there for many, many years.
She was the librarian?
Yeah.
Well, we showed that film at the community center several times, and we were really worried the last time because it was so jam-packed. And we were sure we had broken fire regulations. There were more people in there than should have been.
Where was that?
Well
That's
done.
interesting that there's that.
We had a showing of a movie that was shot in Hastings in 1939. And Julie, your brother, did the commentary for it. And we made a tape and video, which we're now selling.
So that's one we borrowed.
Yeah.
Elva Madden was leading her with using her
Well,
baton
yeah.
in front of the thing. Well, I'm just bringing
Oh.
she looked vague, and I said, that's what I'm trying to bring back to her.
See, Mary was belonged to the girls, not the Girl Scouts. She was in the band because Bill King said he's got her sticks for drumsticks.
Yeah, she was in a five-hand
Five-hand drum.
Oh, is that where she was?
Did you all look at it here, the video?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I brought my VCR to show my garden picture and her great-grandchildren. Well, we enjoy looking at those things.
Well, everybody did get a big kick out of it. They really did enjoy it very much.
Was that the one where my husband sold a vacuum cleaner? The fellow took it on his shoulders. Was that the one?
Yeah.
Well, he belonged to the Businessmen's Association then. That was another picture of
He was
his.
in that, too.
Oh, was he? I remember the Businessmen Association.
He belonged to there.
Well, I won't keep you any longer.
They're not keeping us.
His father was the police commissioner.
Yeah.
In Hastings?
Yeah. It was Freddie Charles's father, wasn't it?
Well, wasn't Rudy in with the Foremans, there were Charleses?
Pardon?
That,
Yeah, but those were the boys.
yeah.
I'm talking about the father was the police commissioner.
Well, your father and Bill Raiola were,
No, I'm talking about Freddie Charles, the father.
oh,
He was the police commissioner because the policemen used to come in on Dad's store
yes,
and clean their guns and
whatever
in the
they
back,
did.
and you'd go out in the front because they had their guns out,
Yes,
and you'd say, "What do you clean your guns for? We have inspection today." And Mr. Charles was the police commissioner.
yeah, and he's a friend of ours, your father's, because that's when your father and Bill Raiola were, during the World War, interpreters for different languages.
Is that the Riolo, is that related to Peter Riolo?
Pete Raiola's brother,
His
Oh,
brother,
his brother.
yeah,
Bill.
Bill
Oh,
Raiola.
I hadn't heard of,
Well, he's dead now.
oh,
He owned, he was in partners with Pete Raiola in the meat market. I guess
oh, that's right, they had a
down
meat
here on Main
market.
Street. Then, when they split up, he went to Dobbs Ferry and either bought or established the Willoughby meat market. Well, it was a food market. It was a food mart. It was a
Yeah, it
combination.
was groceries and
But
meat.
down here, it was strictly meat.
Well, when-
Up there was vegetables and everything else.
Yeah, but when he was living in, working in Hastings, Bill and your father were interpreters for the different people here, for different languages.
Oh, really?
Different languages.
You mean for doing business in the village?
No, when they had to go to war, or, what do you call that? They were interpreters anyway for the village.
You mean for draftees?
Yeah, for the drafting.
Now, what languages did your husband interpret?
He could read Russian, Polish, and English.
Really, Russian?
Well, not the real Russian,
The
That's-
adulterated Russian that they used here.
Ukrainian,
Oh,
Ukrainian Russian,
and Polish.
yeah. And Bill had the
And Czech and
Italians.
Slovak. He knew,
Czechoslovakia.
That's Austrian,
well, he knew, Dad knew that too.
yeah. Well, that's,
And he understood Hungarian.
Well, you don't bunch that with the Polish and Russians.
no. No.
Well, you do, but you're not, it's
No.
really not right. And Mr. Iola was Italian and what?
There's another Italian thing that,
The Sicilian?
yeah, something like
That
it,
was a dialect of the Italian.
yeah,
Like-
something like it, I don't know. But that's how we got acquainted with the Rayolas.
Oh, I see.
You got acquainted way back when he was driving a taxi.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Of course, you
Before
told me
he
many
was,
times.
before he was interned, yeah, you're right. What was that the fellow's name?
I don't know which fellow you're talking about, Mother. Mike Hewlett?
Yeah,
Who was he?
Well, he's from
he's
Jersey.
dead long ago.
But he was from Jersey.
Oh.
He was one of the Italian group that.
He was a different Italian because they used to make fun of each other. One was high-class Italian, was low-class.
Well, one was probably from northern Italy and one from southern Italy.
You know, I never realized.
And that's still going on today.
I had a.
It is?
Yes.
Oh,
They
sure.
disagree?
Oh, yes.
Is that right?
I
The
went to Milan.
Florentines think
I went
they're
to
much
Milan on
more-
business, and I never realized there was that big a divergence between a southern and a northern. In fact, the northern Italians, you swear that they're Scandinavian. They're blue-eyed blondes.
Yeah.
That was a shock to me, because I always thought that Italians were always dark-skinned and dark-haired.
Dark-haired, dark-eyed.
And then I found out, well, they're the Sicilian group in the lower part of Italy, and the upper part are all immigrants from, well, not immigrants, but combinations from the Scandinavian countries and
Austria.
Austria. Yeah, that was a shock to me.
I was surprised when I first went to Italy and found that out.
Well, I remember my mother one time, we talked very little about Europe, because I don't even know how old she was, a teenager when she came here. But all I remember, when she used to go to school, she was taught German. Her people were under the German government. And I don't know how or anything, but that's all she told
When
me.
you talk about that section of Europe, Mother,
Yeah.
they, like, Zeto came from, he said Czechoslovakia. That was really Austria at the time.
It was part of the
But that whole
Austrian-Hungarian
area,
Empire.
that middle part, that all got mixed up. Austria, Germany, Yugoslavia, all that whole area.
Where does Hungarian come in there?
That's part of the
That's
same
part of
general
the same
area.
thing.
That's the same general.
They had a lot of border moves one way or the other.
After World War I, they broke up the Austrian-Hungarian Empire.
I don't know whether she told you, and I think this is pertinent to your interest. Her father, my grandfather, had a bar,
Yes, she did tell me about
and all
that.
the immigrants used to be awed with coming into New York, and they'd get on a train and they'd go radiate out. Some went to Pennsylvania, some came up to Hudson. When they came to going up
I have a
north,
story, you can laugh at it, go ahead,
I'm not gonna
finish
laugh.
it. Not
I
to
think
my
it's-
story.
I think it's an interesting fact. They used to get off whenever they got tired. One of the places they got off was Hastings. And the first thing they saw was my grandfather's bar. And they'd go in there, and You got a sandwich, a bowl of soup, and a beer for a nickel. And a nickel.
Well, they didn't pay, the Greenhorns didn't pay that.
Well, that's what it would have cost, but
Oh.
your father gave it to him.
Oh,
So that got to be a meeting place, like the South Side is now. That was the meeting place. And they always came in when they needed advice. And because my grandfather spoke their language, they felt at home. Her father often said that that's the first place he went, and he remembers
all the Greenies did.
my grandfather from being so kind, get him located with somebody, because they go in there, they don't know where to go. And my grandfather would tell them, well, so-and-so came from that area, go up and see him. So they got
That's a wonderful story.
localized or that formed the communities, really, the Polish and the Russians and the Italians.
Yeah.
You know, I often think of that. That was like a clearinghouse.
I have to tell you about one woman that she only died maybe about 7, 8 years, Mrs. Gundick.
Oh, yes.
Do you know Mrs. Gundick?
Yes, I did.
Oh, well, when
And
she,
I knew her husband, too.
well, when she came from Europe, before, she had a piece of paper. This is her own story to me all the time. She had a piece of paper. When you get off in Hastings, you go to this saloon. Somebody was supposed to meet her in Europe, in
New York?
New York, and nobody came. Everybody went out of Ellis Island, and she went, but she didn't know where to go because she didn't find nobody there that came from Hastings. So anyway, it was getting dark, and a policeman came up to her, and she's with her bundles and everything, and she's crying, and she gave him the piece of paper. So the policeman took her, put her on a New York Central train, told the conductor where to get off. So the conductor left the train, this is her telling me, he walked up as far as the door, left the train there, he went as far as the door and he told her to go in here, into our saloon. He went back to his train, and she came in, and she, some holy name, God be with you, God help me, something said to my mother. And my mother answered her in her native language. And the poor woman was crying, and she gave the paper to my mother. My mother closed the saloon. My father opened the saloon, and she closed it. And she said, yeah, I know where he lives. That would be her brother,
Oh, my.
Gundick. So anyway, I'm in bed, and she comes up, she says, she woke me up, and she says to me, she told me upstairs that the lady came, and this is what she remembers, she says she'll never forget. Where's that greenhorn that I had to take up to dock it?
This is quoting you.
Yeah,
When
this
you
is,
came down. You
I
said,
came
"Where's that
downstairs and I
greenhorn?"
said to my mother, where's that greenhorn? In her native language. I forgot it now, I can't talk it. But anyway, she remembered that. So we are, I don't know, 11, 12 o'clock at night, along Railroad Avenue up to High Street, you know where Ridge Street
Ridge
now.
Street.
And I went there, and I'm knocking at at her house, and he comes with his long winter drawers out. And he opened the door, and I said, I brought a greenhorn to you. The two of them were crying and laughing and kissing, and they left me the heck with you. I had to go home by myself.
How long had it been since they'd seen each other?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know nothing. But anyway, since then, we got to be very friendly with Mrs. Gundick. And many's a time she would meet me someplace, and she says, Mary, there isn't a night that I don't go to sleep that I don't pray for you. And I says, why do you have to pray for me? Because you brought a greenhorn to my brother's house.
That's a wonderful story.
She remembered the greenhorn
Uh-huh.
until the day she died. And she would always stop at the store or always saw in church, St. Matthew's, no matter where she was. She'd always, and no matter where she worked, the house worked for different people. No matter where she went, she would tell them the story about the greenhorn.
The other interesting.
You know
thing-
where the girl,
Excuse me,
you know
just a-
where the,
Could I have just a minute? Could I get you a cold drink and a piece of cake?
oh, no,
please?
thanks.
You sure you don't want a Coke
Yeah.
or something?
No,
All right, I'm sorry. I
Ginger
just
ale?
know we're not
No.
being very hospitable
no,
here.
that's all right.
The other interesting
We're
thing
talking
about
too
my
much.
grandfather's saloon, that was like a social club. And I never saw it, but I heard the stories about these immigrants coming over, meeting down there, and they'd have contests, such as, you remember those big round tables they used to have at the bars?
Yeah,
They'd stand along, my grandfather told me, they'd stand alongside of it and they'd jump up in the center of the table. The guy that could jump up on the table without tipping it over was the winner. Then there
Some
was one
trick.
guy, then there was one guy, and I never got the name, that used to get the edge of the table, and they were heavy. And he'd get his teeth into the edge of the table and he'd pick the thing up with his neck, so it was standing, the top of the table was vertical.
good
When I
heavens.
hear these feats that they did, and I, geez, you know, today even our super athletes can't do that.
Gosh. Do you know where the Gondeks came from?
No, I wouldn't know. Europe, that's all I know.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
I never asked Mr. Gondek where he come from.
You mean, which, the father or the son?
Well, the
son
father.
was born
The
here.
son was born here, Mother.
The father she's talking about, the father.
One of the girls got married 2 weeks ago, one of the sisters.
That has to be a.
Well, that's the granddaughter of the one
Yeah,
that
that's
she's
the-
asking
Yeah.
about.
You're getting generations mixed up.
Well, we're talking too much.
Well, I
We're
just
not.
wondered where the Gondeks said what part of Europe they'd come from.
I couldn't tell you.
But that was an interesting place down there.
I sure
When did
was.
we move up here? When I was, what, 12?
28,
Mother says 1928.
I was 11. So I moved up here.
1928.
And I can remember moving
You moved from
down
Dock
Dock
Street.
Street.
Dock Street.
Did you tell her you're gonna send her a picture of the?
Yes, I'm going to add this to it. We have some pictures, the mother had pictures of loose pictures all over, on drawers, and we put them in a box. So I took them back home and mounted all of them in a scrapbook. One of the pictures is a picture of their house that we're trying to
The
tell you how
saloon.
it's on the corner
Yeah,
of it. And then the other apartments that go up the hill, you can just see it. And a picture of her dad, grandpa,
I
great-grandpa.
don't think he was in the one picture I remember.
We have one picture of him, and that just shows,
On the porch?
no.
Oh.
No, a separate picture. No, I was trying to remember what else we have that would go with the history of.
But if mother doesn't want her to use the Marcin name or her name, she can't do anything with it.
Well,
we'll just keep it in our archives.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
But we'd like to, we could copy the picture.
Yeah.
If you'd lend it
Yeah.
to us.
well, I had hoped to bring it this time and just completely forgot about it. So when we come at Christmas time, we will, because your next issue doesn't come out until, what, March? Because you have one coming out now.
Now, there'll be
And
one in
next
the
will
fall.
be, you know,
There'll be one in the
probably
winter.
March, or you can use even later than that for that matter. 'cause there's
How
nothing-
often do your magazines come out, your papers?
4 times a year. Fall, winter, spring, summer.
I asked Ethel McQuaid when, she says, I don't know.
We don't put a month on them because it varies. There's things that come up. So we just do it by the
Remember I
season.
showed you it says spring, and I said this issue that the last issue said,
Resident.
it said winter 1990. And I said, one of them did. And it's not 1990, it should have been 1989.
You explained to her why it said resident?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's what started all of this.
Yeah.
On there, they wouldn't let him pass, and he,
I don't remember that.
you told me, oh,
I told you, I don't
your
remember.
brother John challenged him, take him on one at a time. He was
Was this World War II?
one. His name is, John Marcin's name is on that.
He was in the Navy.
mother, this was before he got in the service.
I don't know nothing about that.
You do, you told me.
Well, if I did, I
Got it
forgot.
yesterday, okay. But they wouldn't let, they had the militia guarding, keeping people from going down Dock Street. And her brother John was kind of a rugged guy, I guess you'd call him a bully now or a misfit. And he wanted to go down, and they challenged his clearance going down the hill. I'm going home. They wouldn't let him through. And he threatened them to take him on one at a time or the whole group.
I don't remember that at all.
Oh, I sure do. I'll never forget.
Boy, now that would have been
But he was a
quite a
rugged,
ruckus.
he was a rugged, he's still living, isn't he?
Yes.
He was sick, very sick. He lives
No.
down in Florida now. How old is he? 90,
He's about 2.5 years or 2 years, I don't know.
95?
I don't know how old he is. He's younger than I, that's all I know.
He's the guy, her brother was chauffeur for Will Rogers for 20 plus
Yeah, that's what
years.
she was
Yeah.
saying.
Until
20 plus years.
Until Will Rogers got killed.
And then,
He worked for Mrs. Rogers.
for a short time,
And she asked him to wash her dog or something.
she asked him to drive her relatives to the station.
Whatever.
And he said, I'm working for the family, not all your relatives. And he was an unusual individual. It still is unusual individual. Then he worked for
Eddie Cantor.
the people that owned the controlling interests in J.C. Penney
Yes.
after that.
I think, yes, J.C. Penney.
Hogs, or what was their name? I mean, so I don't remember
I
the
don't know.
stories anymore either.
I used to know the Penny's name, I don't
But
know.
anyway, her brother was one of the rough guys around town. He wouldn't take any guff from anybody. And he wasn't that big. It wasn't that he was a big guy, just a wiry
One of these glamour boys, you know, Phyllis, the
glamour boy.
glamour boys, they used to have, they're the first ones used to wear shoes with buttons and all those things.
Well, he was in style, but he
Oh,
wasn't
here, very stylish, too stylish.
not too stylish.
Did you talk your native language at home?
I used to know how. I couldn't talk now.
I mean,
They did until we were born.
And
When
then-
my sister and I were born, they cut it out.
they didn't talk German or,
No.
Czech.
Austrian,
Yeah.
no.
some houses, in some families, they did continue to speak the
I think your
native
folks
tongue.
did for a while, didn't they?
Yeah, we can't speak it anymore either, because I don't know how my sisters held on. They probably kept it up. After I left here, wasn't exposed to it anymore.
Oh, my brother.
Don't you regret losing it?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I would.
But there's just never an occasion to use it.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about 5 years ago, trying to convince her to contribute some way to the Historical Society. But she and I were visiting, and some guy comes to the door, and he was doing some research. His father-in-law was a fireman in Yonkers, and Rudy knew his father-in-law. Anyway, the point is, he came in, he sat there, and they're reminiscing about this person, this store. And I looked on with amazement that between the two of them, they knew,
Oh, I know who you're talking about, George Holbach.
whatever, I can't remember his
Yeah.
name. But he said, boy, he said, with all the people I've talked to, I've gotten more here in an hour and a half than I got in weeks of interviewing others. So Mary and I both said, why don't you talk to the Historical Society? I don't want my name in print. You don't have to have your name in print. They said, well, what if I forgot something?
Well, that's all right.
So what?
I don't want it.
Mother, we're not telling you.
Okay,
You don't want it, you don't want it.
okay.
The only problem is you never have a reason for what you want or don't want.
No reason
It's just one of
whatsoever.
those
I don't like publicity.
idiosyncrasies.
I don't
Mother,
want
it isn't, Mother. That's not a personal acclamation for yourself.
I
That's to
know.
let other people in the community know what took place many, many years
So
ago.
what?
Well,
That's
it's
your
important.
opinion.
Huh?
That's
It's
your
important.
opinion.
To me,
But
it
to other,
isn't.
But to
But it
other
is to
people,
other
it is.
people.
And it has to be important to
They
you,
read
Mother.
it today and forget it tomorrow.
Mother. Now, every time we come, we start talking about Yonkers and all the people that you used to go with. You always bring up all those old things. Always.
Only when
always.
they die, I'll tell you about them.
No, there
Well,
are times.
my folks had a philosophy, and that's what she's alluding to, that they impressed in me for the time I was this high. Never brag about yourself or look for recognition. If you deserve it, you'll get it, somebody else will pass it on. But don't go looking for publicity.
I call this bragging.
I know, that's what's behind your thinking.
Yeah.
But that's not bragging,
And
this is
But
not
that isn't
bragging.
bragging.
No,
These are
That's just-
facts.
Actually, the way I look at it, it's adding credence to what they print.
No.
It's giving them an opportunity to say, hey, this is fact because we got it from Mr. So-and-so and Mrs. So-and-so.
No.
Well, certainly, it was wonderful to have Julie narrate that film.
There was
Because
another good
he knew
case.
some,
Yeah.
Yes,
so many of the
He
people.
knew the people.
yes.
That was great. In fact,